was involved with over 40 parades, including parades in Georgia and Florida and
Wow.
San Antonio and Winnipeg. So it got to be a really good opportunity to be a representative of St. Paul, Minnesota, but then also to talk about my roots in St. Paul.
Well, your roots are also in football, and I'm a rose between two thorns here. They've been talking St. Louis, they've been talking Missouri the whole time.
Yeah.
So Ahmad, not Pierre.
Yes.
Ahmad, tell us how it is the first time. It's almost like when I meet someone from the East Coast, they say it's like golden retrievers recognizing their breed. It's the same thing as from Missouri.
Yeah, I mean, he's from the Columbia area, just a couple of hours outside of St. Louis, but still familiar foes with one another. I mean, I feel like that's just right in our backyard. A lot of St. Louis guys go, or gals as well, they all go up to the Mizzou area to go to school, and a lot of Columbia people come down to the St. Louis area to live once they graduated college. So we picked up, and as Missourians, we kind of always ask that first question, what high school did you go to? So
Right.
we got that out of the way early on. And I also asked him another question. Does he miss this training camp, being with the Minnesota Vikings? His answer was phenomenal. Can you share with everybody what you
The
said?
only days I miss are payday and game day. Those are the only ones I miss.
But training camp nowadays is very different,
Yes.
though.
Yeah.
What are the main differences you see when you come out here as to the days when you had training camp?
Well, we didn't have kids all over the place. They were in guarded areas around the training camp. But, man, we went 6 days or 2-a-days.
Right.
You know, and, even though Bud Grant, for example, one of my coaches, came to camp late, we were really focused and concentrated when we were there. And we didn't miss a day.
Yeah.
So even though he was late, you were not late.
Correct. Of course
Because
not. No,
you knew
because
Bud
if you're
would
late,
not
you
like
got to
that.
give up some money. If
Really?
you're late, you get fined. Of course, yes.
How much money were the fines in those
Well,
days?
back then, maybe $500.
Okay.
Well, that's nothing
For
to
being
these
late.
guys nowadays.
You miss a meeting, $500. You miss a practice, $500. And if you were holding out for contract reasons,
Yes.
you get fined for that as well. So
Really?
it came out of your new contract.
How much money did you pay in fines?
I had never paid any money
Smart
in
man.
Fire
fines.
boy.
Smart.
Of
man.
course.
Yes.
I worked hard for that money. I'm not going to just
You're
give
not
it away
burning
for foolishness.
Payday and game day.
That's right.
You got to save
That's-
that money.
that's-
Well, I want to ask you a question, Leo, because you're an experienced wide receiver.
Yeah.
You have a history playing that position. When you look at who the Vikings have out there this season, how excited does that make you for whoever plays quarterback?
Well, I think the wide receiver position, even today, is one of those premier marquee entertainment values that a team has. And, catching touchdowns after running after the catch, and in my case, running back punts and kickoffs. I think it is a valued position, and the game today really relies on the passing game. And outside the quarterback, you're looking at tight ends and receivers to kind of be your marquee individuals on your team, and consequently, they're your leaders.
Right. So where does this wide receiver room that the Minnesota Vikings have rank in the NFL?
In the NFL today, one of the best, certainly. And we'll see how much the quarterback, whatever or whoever that might be, can get it to our premier players.
When you see guys like Kirk Cousins leave, and there's that familiarity, of course, Justin Jefferson always talks about it. He trusted me, I trusted him, he could throw me open. That relationship that you have to build with your quarterback, some of it comes naturally, but how hard do you have to work on the parts that don't?
Yeah, well, I tell you, relationships get really concrete and much better when the game starts and when practice is starting, because you have a job to do. If you don't fulfill your role as part of the team, then we have to replace you. So I think some of the chemistry comes about when teammates get a chance to know each other, obviously. But there's some synchronicity with getting out there, practicing, and being with the same people every day. That will come. So not only is it culture building that we're trying to do right now between our new quarterback and our receivers, but there's some legitimate nuance to understanding what they need to do each day.
Well, I have a question for you in regards to that. How patient are you with young quarterbacks back in your day. How much time did you give yourself before you chewed out the quarterback, the young rookie quarterback, like, hey, give me the ball or stop messing up on this play call in the huddle?
I hear you. And, you know, Bud Grant didn't play rookies at all, hardly. As a matter of fact, they weren't a part of the team to a certain extent. They just fulfilled some of the practice time. Nowadays, your rookies are much more valued and certainly are going to be much more a part of your game plan. And I just think that, yes, there's a short link to being on the field and being on the bench for a number of the younger players, for sure.
When you see the money that Justin Jefferson brings in, as a wide receiver yourself.
I'm frustrated. I'm a frustrated old player, for sure.
Do you sit there going, if only. But then you see how he plays.
Good. Correct.
What is the thing that you love the most about him, and that, you know, that he earns that in this day and age?
Yeah, and granted, he's in the right position, you know, and they play his position, and he plays the position really well. And you have that type of talent. That's why he's a #1 draft choice. You know, we had a number of #1 draft choices around this team and this franchise, and to their credit, and during the days that they were playing, they were phenomenal. And, you know, we're talking about players who stayed around for a long time for the Vikings.
When you talk about the way training camps have changed over the years, obviously a lot less physical. Because even I remember in my high school days having two-a-days for 2 weeks at a time. Now these guys just have walkthroughs in the morning, a 2-hour practice. How do you think that benefits them or hurts them when the season rolls around and that first game is here and they really haven't had all that contact that you would necessarily have like back in the days?
Well, you know what? I've always maintained the veterans don't need to be in camp for 6 weeks. They don't need a lot of the training that the young people need, or the newer people who have come from other teams. So if I'm a veteran, I'm thinking, you know, this is, you know, I don't need to spend that much time out in training camp. But for the younger guys, they need to develop, they need to be trained in the system that is here for the Vikings. So it's very important for them to get the reps and to understand the system much more. So I think that, you know, because the league is getting younger and younger, you're going to find that franchises need to hold off on some of the physicality so that they can train and develop their players a lot quicker.
And also now it's 24/7 year-round, right? Football does not end.
Right.
So they have to put them on the strategic plan back.
Of course.
To avoid injuries, right?
Of course. And another thing, you know, most of these players come from really great franchises at the college level and have gone through a number of training camps where they've really been physical. Because in some respects they are continuously being developed, so coaches need to know how they are in real time. At the pro level, I think they're doing a lot better in preserving some of these guys. But man, I keep thinking about all the training camps we've been through, and I can't believe we got out of there. I mean, it was tough.
Right?
You playing the regular season was pancake was really the easiest part of the year.
All right, I have a question for you. Since you are a former wide receiver here, and there's been some great ones to come through these doors, where does Justin Jefferson rank among the greats of Minnesota wide receivers?
Right below Randy Moss.
Okay.
Now, I didn't play with Randy, but he was phenomenal. You know, what Randy did, he ran back kickoffs, he ran back punts, he ran back a punt for a touchdown one year. I think he just had the skills. And Justin has different skills, but they both were phenomenal and are phenomenal wide receivers.
Go ahead, Don.
Okay, so today they're only in shells, but yesterday was the first day of pads. And it's a big deal in this NFL
Of course.
genre to put the pads on,
course.
see what they have. When you are a veteran and you've been away from the game, when you watch, they're making a big deal of the first day of pads.
Yeah.
Is it a big deal? And what do you see from it from the outside looking in now?
Yes, I think it is a big deal. I mean, most of these guys are going to be superstars in shorts and shirts. And I think it really separates the men from the boys to a certain extent when you put the pads on and you really have to tackle, you really have to block, you really have to hold on to the ball after being tackled. And quite frankly, it slows you down. So some of those speedsters are slowed down a little bit, you know, because they have all the pads on. You know, for the linemen, it's a must. I'm surprised the linemen haven't started pads yet. But I think it really is critical when you see some of the interactive play between defensive linemen and offensive linemen. And when a receiver goes one-on-one with a defensive back, or when a running back has to block a linebacker in a blitz, those are things that you need pads for, certainly.
Yeah, and Kevin O'Connell kind of alluded to that last week. He said that, like you said, everybody can be a superstar with just shorts and T-shirts on, but some other guys, like me, but some other guys excel when you put the football pads on, not like me. And he had something to say about those type of guys and just what the pads being on at practice means. Take a listen.
Very physical practice on the offensive and defensive lines. Really liked what I saw at different times from both sides. Felt the pass rush, especially on some of those, known passing downs, 2-minute, things like that. So much learning still going on, teaching, but we're at the point now where the expectation is we are making a mistake not to be made again, or at least learn from, to be able to be applied to whatever it is that we're really focusing on as we grow our installs and expand over these next few practices.
All right, well, our training camp coverage is extending past this block. And, Leo, we don't have pads on, so
right.
I think you'll want to stay
Thank
here. We have no physical contact coming
Switzerland between you two.
So we want you guys to stick around with us. We'll talk more Vikings football when we return on the other side of the break.
Welcome back to Vikings Training Camp Live. Ahmad Hicks. I'm Dawn Mitchell. We are with Leo Lewis, former Vikings wide receiver, and it just can't go without talking about, again, the battle and the interesting situation that the Vikings have at the quarterback situation. So you get Sam Darnold, who comes in.
Yep.
And he is the starter off the top, but he also knows there's this young gun that they drafted.
Yeah.
So you have to have a quarterback that can handle that situation mentally, be willing to share information with a quarterback in the quarterback room. What do you think about Sam Darnold when it comes to being that guy?
Yeah, well, he was a former #1 draft choice, so he understands, because he was in that place at one time, replacing a veteran. I think it's the way the Vikings have really presented this position well, trying to develop both of them at the same time under their system, because you're going to need at least two quarterbacks anyway. We've had history of trying to get through a season with just one quarterback. It doesn't happen too often. So why not develop them both and have them work it out on the field? But I certainly believe we're in a really good situation with two quality quarterbacks who both, Donald's still young himself. Yeah. Both are going to be able to be more developed.
And you know what's good right now is that both of these guys are hungry. I think Sam Darnold understands the opportunity at hand. He can kind of rewrite his NFL legacy, while J.J. McCarthy is hungry, and he wants to show all those naysayers that he's worthy of being a QB1 for the Minnesota Vikings. So, of course, the Vikings have been trying to sprinkle him in, get some reps with the twos, take some reps with the ones. Head coach Kevin O'Connell was asked about the development of J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold and the competition between the two. Here's what he had to say earlier today.
In the majority of the one reps, JJ's gotten some reps twos versus ones where he might not be out there with the one offense, but he's certainly seeing some of the things that will allow him to start phasing into getting into the huddle. We're making it almost harder than it will be when he gets into that first group. But as far as rep counts and performances so far, I think that both guys have done a lot of really, really good things, and some more notable visually than others. But I also think both guys have made some mistakes with the football, learning mistakes where they're trying to either see if they can squeeze a ball in over the middle before a safety can step in front, or maybe not taking a chance down the field in a one-on-one where maybe that's our best option, and things like that. And then how we introduce the pass rush in pads now. How consistent can you be with their footwork as if it is 7-on-7, as if it is, throwing in Josh's individual routes on air? Because that's the true test, because we can drill everything we want to do. We can build a whole plan of attack every single day, but it's got to translate.
And the one thing that I loved yesterday, I saw towards the end of practice, I don't know if it was the 1-minute drill or the 2-minute drill. Sam Darnold went out there, threw an interception on the very first play, trying to squeeze it in to Justin Jefferson. Cam Bynum picked him off. J.J. McCarthy came out there. He didn't throw a lot of deep shots. He didn't take a lot of risks, but he checked the ball down, and he moved the team down in field goal range. So you love to see that poise from a young quarterback. How does that instill confidence in the veterans on the team when you see a young quarterback operate like that in training camp?
Well, I think the whole team just wants efficiency, and that's what you have training camp for, to build efficiency, be effective, give nuances to how you have to change on the field. And the quarterback position is no different than the other positions. They're examining the way that all of the players react and act within the game plan.
And I know that the coach was talking earlier about giving them both equal reps, because the deeper we get into camp, it's going to shift.
Yeah.
It has to shift to get you ready for preseason and for the regular season. But what I liked what KO said is, he said, you see JJ he's the second team against the first team defense. So to put the rookie still in the fire with the pads on against that, I think is just a smart way to bring him in as well.
Well, it may eventually be that he's going to be in a position like that. So I just like the position that the Vikings are in. By developing both of them at the same time. And someone would emerge. Someone would probably give an edge to making the coaches much more confident about using one instead of the other. But we still got a long way to go. We've got a lot of training camp and actually 3 good games to really measure their effectiveness.
And speaking of someone emerging and effectiveness, I want you, before I ask you this question, I want you to describe to the people at home and the viewers listening what type of wide receiver you were back in the day.
Who's number 4 on our team?
Brandon Powell.
I was kind of like Brandon. I caught a lot better than he did, but
quickster, huh?
I had to be the quick guy.
Yeah.
I started out as a sideline receiver, instead of a middle receiver. But when Anthony Carter came, they switched me to inside, because then I would be able to do a lot of motion and deception work, and then Anthony was more or less the downfield guy. So I changed my role during my career. But I think one of the things that I was proud about is that I could play any of the positions.
Right.
And that's kind of how you have to think about it.
And that's something that a lot of the Vikings wide receivers have been talking about, is playing multiple positions. And, Brandon Powell is a shorter guy. He is a speedster. One guy who's just a little bit faster than him, Jalen Naylor. He's also just a little bit bigger. And Kevin O'Connell was talking about him, how Naylor had to deal with injuries his first couple of years in the league. But if healthy, he can be a dynamic option for this offense. And here's what KOC had to say about him.
Yeah, it's clear the impact he's had in the passing game. The red zone sequence on day 2. He made another big play in 2-minute yesterday. What's so great about Jalen is his versatility. He's not doing those things all from the same spot. It may be, being the F, Z, or X on any one given play, and he's got the ability to own it and then apply what we think are pretty dynamic skill sets to go do those jobs. So he just, in the passing game, needs to continue to do the things that he's off to a start doing consistently, like we've talked about, and then continue to show a willingness that he does in the run game to have that role as well, because running the football, takes all 11 guys, quarterback getting us to the right spots, right plays, timing of motions, and how we hit blocks up front. But the receivers and their ability to block on the second level are what really define, your ability to break 10-yard runs into 20 or 30-yard runs. And he's doing all those things.
So, Leo, he was talking about also you have to, in the run game, you have to be willing to block.
Yeah.
You have to be able to pick up on things. So whoever that wide receiver 3 is going to be needs to be versatile, especially when you've got Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
And if you want to make a name for yourself, yes, you have to be great in the passing game, but you have to do your job when it comes to blocking. How difficult is that maybe for a guy that's trying to win that 3 position?
That's good, because that third position does need to know all the positions at the wide receiver position. But so it'd be good to hone up those skills as well. I really applaud Coach for educating us and being able to speak a lot more about his role and to try to uplift our knowledge about the players. I go way back. Bud Grant never needed to do that because everyone just trusted him in what he said and what he did. Jerry Burns, well, if you can understand him, you were able to kind of understand how he felt about the game and about his team, but he didn't reveal much. And Denny Green was a lot more defensive in his coaching, but he was a phenomenal coach. So it's good to kind of see, and it's refreshing to see that our new head coach is doing really well in giving us a lot of information about what he's going to do, what the team is thinking, and certainly personnel.
Yeah, well, KO, he tries to be as forward as he can be without giving away too much. Someone asked us a couple of questions when we had availability, and he goes, I do have a plan for the quarterbacks for preseason, and that's it. So I'm not sharing it with you.
Right.
So he wouldn't give us much, but we'll give you everything we have on the other side of the break. That's Don. I'm Ahmad. That's Leo. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Vikings Training Camp Live. We're in our final segment, and with Ahmad Hicks and Leo Lewis. Leo, you were saying that you're super busy now. You're even teaching a class at the U.
Yeah.
What are you teaching?
Well,
What
for
do you do?
12 years, I've been teaching a sport management class, and
Yes.
we get under the cuff and talk about all the social and cultural aspects of sport, either globally or in our country. And it's really a good course. I really love it, and you know, it's a course that is full every
Yes,
semester.
I can imagine.
And being part of the sport management class, it really kind of fits with my persona as well, because I have a background in kind of the personality-driven aspects of sport as well.
When you put the pads down and the ball deflated for the final time in your career, did you
Yeah.
envision yourself stepping into a teaching type role, or was that a difficult transition for you back in the day?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I started my PhD when I was playing. So I was teaching in the off seasons at the U, and it's in a different capacity now. So for over almost 40 years now, I've been associated with the University of Minnesota.
That's amazing. What's your stance on this team right now? How good are they going to be? A lot of people are writing them off in the NFC North. Do you think they have a chance?
Well, I do. However, the NFC North is very, very competitive, and it's going to be exciting to have them play their interdivision foes. I think there's a lot of upside, and how quickly they can get to the top is going to really be something very interesting and exciting.
All right, before we end the show, I want to know, what is your favorite touchdown catch? Who threw it to you, and where was it?
Well, I tell you, that's easy. That is easy, believe it or not. We were
All
playing
right.
San Diego in the mid-'80s, and no receiver caught a ball the entire game. It was all running backs and tight ends. So with 17 seconds to go, Tommy Kramer throws me an alley-oop pass in the end zone, and I catch it.
And the rest?
And the rest is history.
Is
They
lovely.
can't take that away from me. I still have that ball, by the way.
There you go.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Leo. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you
Thank
coming
you.
out.
My pleasure.
We're going to be back here again tomorrow. It's going to be Pierre.
Yep, and myself.
And yourself.
Yep.
You're both Pierre
Yeah,
and
Pierre and
Ahmad.
Ahmad today. Yep.
We'll see you again next time, everybody.